Hello everybody. In this video tutorial today, what I'll be demonstrating for you is how to fold an origami crane. To do this, you will need a piece of paper. You can use any paper that you have laying around. Construction paper works fine. Computer paper works really nicely. You can go out and invest in what is called Kami, K-A-M-I, and that is origami paper. So paper that is specifically designed, often colored or patterned to make your origami look a little nicer when it's finished, to make it a little easier to fold. This is totally optional. You can do this with any piece of paper that you have. I do recommend computer paper, seems to work really nicely. We are going to, however, have to cut this to become a square because most computer paper is a rectangle. That's really easy to do though. If you take your paper and if you fold the bottom edge even with one of the long edges on the side, I'll show you how to make a square out of it. So I'm simply going to take this corner here, fold it up and over until it is even with the long edge. I'm going to press that crease. And then what I can do is I can take a pencil or a pen or something and just trace this line here. And now I'll know where to cut with my scissors. You'll see I'll be able to make a perfect square out of that. So if you do not have origami paper, if you want to practice this or to do this without going and investing, you can just trim your very own square paper like so. Okay. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm actually going to switch over to a piece of Kami. The reason for that is this is going to be colored on one side, as you can see, and it is going to be white on the other side, so it can be a little easier to follow along with every fold because you can tell which side of the paper I'm working with. The first fold I'm going to perform here is to take one corner to the opposite corner to create a triangle. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to fold one corner to the opposite corner. And what I really recommend that you do when working with origami is make sure that your folds are very precise. Make sure they're tight and flat, and make sure that your creases are extremely firmly pressed. This is going to prevent your paper from kind of warping and wobbling, getting a little bit more difficult or challenging to fold as we go. The more neat and clean your folds are, the easier this can be to do. So I folded my triangle. Now I'm going to unfold back to the square. Okay. Now this next step I find very helpful for future steps. This is going to make our life a little easier later on. My next fold is to take the other corner of my square to the other corner of my square. Now rather than folding with the red side out like I did originally, okay, I'm going to open my square. I'm now going to fold in the opposite direction. So I'm taking corner to corner. The other corners are coming together now, and you'll notice now the white side of my paper is showing. This is going to make a future step a lot easier, I've found, and I think it's an easy thing to change. So it's definitely worth doing it in this order. Okay, so I folded my two triangles. I'm going to once again unfold back into my square. You can see I now have an X crisscrossed across my paper. Okay, now my next step here is to take my edge to my edge. So I'm going to fold across the square like a book. So I'm going to match my edges up as close as I can to perfect. Make sure my corners are where I need them. And then when I fold, I like to press my crease in the middle and then use my finger working outward to either side to make sure my crease is nice and flat. I'm going to once again unfold that square, and now I'm going to go the opposite direction. Okay, so I'm going to fold the other side to the other side, the two that have not yet been folded together. I'm going to fold across, and I'm going to crease my paper nice and firm. Okay, now for origami you don't really need any special tools. All you really need is paper in your hands. They do, however, make tools designed for folding paper. They're called bone tools. I have one here. Totally optional, but if you catch the origami bug and are really into this, they can be helpful, especially if you're doing a lot of folds, because your fingers can often get fatigued. If you don't want to invest in one of these, you could use a tongue depressor or a popsicle stick. You could even use a pencil or a pen to just push those a little bit more firmly. Again, the tighter my creases, the easier that this is going to be. Okay, I'm going to now unfold everything back into my square. And you can see here I have a plus sign and an X on my paper. Perfect. I've done everything that I need for the first stages of this fold. Okay, now I'm going to turn my square into a diamond, and I'm going to fold my corners down and in, and my top edge is going to seal off on the top. Okay, so do you remember how we folded the triangle the opposite direction? So we folded one crease on the red side of the paper, the other crease on the white side. That's going to help make this step far easier for us, because the paper is going to naturally want to kind of fold in like an accordion. So I'm going to take my paper now. I actually think it's going to want to go this way. I'm going to bring my left and my right corners down. And you see how it's starting to fold the top in already on itself? So I'm just going to bring these left and right corners down and in to the bottom corner. And now you'll see the top edge wants to come too. Okay, so I'm just going to take this top corner and finish it off. I've now taken my square and made it into a much smaller square. I'm just going to push those creases so that everything kind of comes together where I want it. Okay, so that can be tricky, so I'm going to demonstrate one more time for you how to do this. So I've got my square. I'm going to take my right and my left corners down to the bottom corner. And if I've done this correctly, the top corner is going to naturally want to kind of come along for the ride as well, making my smaller square. Perfect. Okay, now for this next step, it's important that the open area of my square here, where my finger can kind of fit within the paper, that remain near me. Okay, so that's going to be near the bottom edge of my table. I'm going to fold this square now into a kite. So I'm going to take this bottom edge, remember this is the open part of my square. I'm going to bring it up and even with this center fold line here. That's going to look like this. So I'm going to bring this bottom edge, the open edge of the square, comes up and even now with that center crease on the square. I'm going to press that crease nice and firm. One down, 3 more to go. Bottom edge here of the front half of my paper. Do you notice how there's a back? I'm only folding the front right now. I'm going to fold this edge up and even with the center crease on the square. And I'm going to press that nice and firm. Can you start to see the kite forming? Okay, except this kite has a backside that we need to do as well. So I've done it on one side of my square. I'm now going to flip. Not rotating the paper, I'm just flipping it over. Remember, I want the open end facing me. Bottom edge here, same thing I did on the front side. Bring it up and over even with that center crease. I've got half a kite now. Same thing on this side as well. Bottom edge up and over even with that center crease. Press my edges nice and firm. Now I got a kite. Now this next fold is optional, but I highly recommend it. It does make a future step a lot easier, okay? There is now a line here where the edges of the folds I just made meet this top triangle here. So you can kind of see I'm running my finger along this edge. I'm simply gonna fold the top half of this kite, the top triangle of it, down to make an ice cream cone. And I'm going to crease this edge nice and firm. Okay, so you can see now I've got an ice cream cone. It was a kite. I've simply folded the top square down. Boom, ice cream cone. Okay, now I'm going to unfold everything. I know we've done a lot of unfolding. All right, I've unfolded the back of the kite. Now flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing to the front of the kite. Okay, Now, this next step is the most challenging for many students, so pay close attention, okay? And don't be afraid to do this multiple times in order to get it right, okay? As long as you're not ripping the paper, you can typically always retry and try to get it right. So now I'm gonna reach down the open edge of my square here that's been facing me this whole time. I'm going to bring that open edge up, and you're gonna see it kind of looks like a birdie's mouth. Okay, so I'm simply gonna take the corners of the birdie's cheeks and I'm gonna put them in the mouth. I'm gonna do this on the back side as well. So if you didn't quite catch that, I'm gonna do it 3 more times. I'm gonna take the left cheek of this birdie's mouth and push it inside the mouth. And these creases are going to hopefully help direct this up towards a diamond. Okay, do we see that? I'm going to press my creases nice and firm so this lays nice and flat. I'm going to flip and repeat on the opposite side. So I'm going to rotate my paper over. I'm not twisting it. I'm simply turning it over to the back side. I'm going to open this birdie's mouth, and I want you to notice where we folded that ice cream cone. That little crease here is what is establishing the top part of the bird's mouth in the back here. So that's why we folded that crease. It's going to make this a lot easier. So I open the birdie's mouth, and notice how the cheeks are already coming with. They want to come inside. We're going to push them the rest of the way. Right, crease it all the way up, following that seam, and left, crease it all the way up, following that seam, and now I have a diamond. Okay, this is a really good stage to take your fingernail or a pen and really push all of these creases nice and firm. So whether you're using your hand or a pen, pencil, even your fingernail, just get these creases, these edges nice and firm. The flatter this lays, the easier it's going to be to continue the folds. Okay, so I have my diamond. I'm going to turn this diamond now into the head of a spear. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little thinner, okay, a little longer. I'm going to take the bottom edge here of my diamond, okay, and I'll know it's the bottom edge because the bottom of my diamond has the legs. I'm going to take the bottom edge of one of those legs. I'm going to fold it up and even with that center seam. This is very similar to how we made the kite earlier. Notice I'm only doing this to the front half of my diamond. The back half, just like the kite earlier, I'm going to do separately. So my other leg over here, I'm going to take the front fold of that leg. I'm going to bring the bottom edge of the leg even with that center crease. So it's even now. I'm going to press it nice and firm. And you can see my diamond is getting a little thinner. It looks a little bit more like the head of a spear. If I flip it over now, you'll see me finish it. So I'm just rotating, okay? This is still the bottom of my diamond. The legs are still here, okay? I'm going to now bring the back side of each leg, even with that center crease. And repeat on the opposite side, like that. I like to press it nice and firm at this stage as well. So my fingers, my fingernail, a pencil, something to crease this nice and tight so it lays nice and flat. Okay, so now I've got my super skinny diamond here. Okay, this next step involves me actually kind of picking the paper up, and I'm going to separate the sides. So here's the front and the back of my super skinny diamond. Okay, I'm only going to work with the front right now. I'm going to fold the front of this diamond like a book. See, I'm going to close it like a book. Okay. I'm just going to kind of pinch that so it stays while I rotate it. Now, as I turn the diamond over, I'm going to repeat the same process here on this side. So I'm going to close the back of the diamond now like a book. And now if I turn it on its edge, what does the fox say? Kind of looks like a little fox head, right? He's got his ears up here, his little mouth. Okay, so again, to do that, I had my diamond with the super skinny legs. Beep, 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 beep. I'm simply going to close the diamond like a book on the front. Close the diamond like a book on the back. I got a fox. Okay. Now, if these are the fox's ears, this is the fox's mouth. I'm going to take the top of that fox's mouth. I'm going to crease it. There's a natural crease right here. You can see that seam right here really well. I'm going to fold the fox's mouth up to the ears like so. Just on the front half. I still have the back to do. I'm going to rotate it over and repeat. Fox's mouth gets pushed up to the ears. And now I've got like a little arrowhead. Okay? Now, just like I folded the diamond closed like a book, I'm going to do that exact same thing again. We're nearly finished. If you can get it to this stage, you can make a paper crane. So I'm going to separate the sides, the front and the back of my arrowhead here. I'm going to close the front like a book. I'm going to try to crease it right along the middle of that fold there. Okay. Turn it over and repeat. Fold the arrowhead closed like a book. Try to crease it right along the center of that crease. Okay. And then I'm going to rotate it. Okay. So just to show that again, I've got my arrowhead like so. This is the edge where I pulled the fox's mouth up. Okay, I'm going to close the fox's mouth inside like a book. Turn, same thing on the opposite side, close the fox's mouth in like a book. And then if I pivot it like so, I'm actually done with my crane. I just need to get him out of his shell. So I'm going to crease the wing right at about the edge here where the two corners meet. Right at that corner here, I'm going to crease the wing down. Press it. Other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to crease the wing down. Press it. And then there's these two kind of skinny things coming up here. I'm going to take them both. I'm going to pull them out to about a 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to pinch them so that they don't move. So I'm going to take this little tail here. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pinch it right there. And then if I come underneath the wings, we've got a paper crane. Except this crane doesn't have a head yet. Last thing I need to establish, which one of these is going to become the head. I usually pick the one that looks the worst. And I kind of hide my little mistakes by making it the head. Okay, I actually think that this side looks pretty nice. I'm going to keep that and make that the tail. To make the beak, I'm simply going to come here, maybe like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch down from the tip. And I'm just going to bend it. And I'm going to pinch it down into the neck. And then if you would like to, you can actually kind of crease it a little bit more just to get it to stay. Give it a good shape. Pull the beak out. And there we go. Paper crane. Easy. Couple tricky steps, so feel free to rewatch the video, pause, and work on your technique a little bit. Legend has it that if you fold 1,000 of these, you will be granted a wish for your resiliency and your dedication. So I have 999 more to go. I'll be here a little while, but I really want that wish. So good luck to you. Hopefully this made it easy. Get to folding. Enjoy.